All right, let's jump back into the world of Harry Potter. Today we're taking a deep dive into The Prisoner of Azkaban.
Ooh, Prisoner of Azkaban.
But we're not just revisiting the story, you know?
Right.
We're going deeper, like behind the scenes, unearthing some pretty cool facts.
Like behind-the-scenes fact.
Yeah, from the 2004 film's IMDb page.
Interesting.
Think you know everything about Prisoner of Azkaban. Think again.
I bet there's a lot of stuff that we don't know.
I bet there is. There's always little things.
Uh-huh.
So how about we start with the director, Alfonso Cuarón? You know, he's known for those visually stunning films like Gravity and Children of Men. So what did he bring to the world of Harry Potter?
Well, one thing that I think is really interesting about Cuarón is his approach to working with actors. He really wants to understand their perspective on the characters, and he's willing to go to some pretty interesting lights to get that.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
So he gave the young actors this unusual assignment before filming started.
What kind of assignment?
Write an essay from their character's point of view.
Wow, like a school essay.
Yeah.
Love it. Did they do it?
The results were so telling.
Really?
Okay, so Emma Watson, our very own Hermione, dove right in and wrote like a 16-page masterpiece.
Oh, of course she did. She's Hermione.
And Daniel Radcliffe was very much like Harry.
Yeah.
You know, to the point, single page.
Yeah.
And then Rupert Grint, well, in true Ron fashion, he just never turned his in.
Oh, that's brilliant. That is so them. I love that. That's perfect. I bet Cuarón got a real kick out of that.
Oh, absolutely. You know, little details like that probably gave him so much insight into their understanding of their characters.
Yeah. And, you know, it makes you wonder if those essays, like, subtly shaped their performances on screen.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
All right, let's move from character development to something a bit spookier. The Dementors.
Ooh.
I remember seeing them for the first time in the theater, and I gotta say, those things were terrifying.
Oh, they're scary.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're not alone. A lot of people say they're even scarier in the film than they were in the book.
Oh, really? Why do you think that is? Is it the visuals, the sound, the whole atmosphere? What do you think?
I think it's the combination of everything. It's all those elements that they use, and they're just masterfully crafted to tap into, like, our deepest fears.
Yeah.
Visually, they're skeletal figures gliding towards you.
Right.
It's chilling. But I think the sound design is what really gets to you.
Mm-hmm.
That eerie whistling wind and just that feeling of coldness. It's like you can feel that despair coming in.
It's true. Those sounds are just haunting. Like, they really amplify that feeling of dread and hopelessness.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, J.K. Rowling herself, she said she based the Dementors on her own experience with depression.
Yeah,
She described them as a cold absence of happiness.
that's a chilling way to put it.
It is, and it's disturbing.
Right.
And it really makes them so much more than just, like, you know, movie monsters.
Right. They represent a very real emotional state. And the filmmakers, I think, did a fantastic job translating that onto the screen.
Absolutely, and they succeeded in giving me nightmares. All right, let's lighten the mood a bit with some fun trivia. Did you know there's a deliberate misspelling on the Marauders map in the film?
Oh, yeah. Instead of Mooney, it says Mooney. Little Easter egg they threw in there.
It's so good. And for those who don't know, it turns out that's an inside joke. The film's visual effects supervisor was named Carl Mooney.
How about that?
Right.
It's those little details that make it fun for the fans.
Speaking of the Marauders map, for those who haven't memorized every detail of the Harry Potter universe, can you give us a quick refresher on what this magical map is all about?
Of course. So the Marauders map shows everyone in Hogwarts, students, teachers, ghosts,
Everybody.
everybody, and it shows you their exact locations.
Ooh.
It was created by Mooney, Wormtail, Padfoot, and Prongs, or as you might know them.
Remus Lupin, Peter Pettigrew, Sirius Black, and James Potter. The mischief those four must have gotten into with that map.
I know, right?
Sneaking around the castle, causing trouble.
Exactly.
It's such an iconic object in the series, and it plays a pretty significant role in Prisoner of Azkaban, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about directorial style, creepy creatures, magical maps, but there's one more detail I have to share.
Okay.
It's a blink and you'll miss it moment in the end credits. So keep an eye out for a human footprint transforming into an animal print.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
Any guesses what that symbolizes?
That symbolizes Sirius Black's animagus form, a black dog.
Exactly. And for those who might be wondering, an animagus is a witch or wizard who can transform into an animal at will.
Right, it's very rare.
Very rare and impressive skill.
Very impressive.
It really shows how much thought and artistry went into every aspect of this film. You could watch it 100 times and still discover something new.
Yeah, it's true.
But before we go any further down this rabbit hole, I think it's time to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more Prisoner of Azkaban insights. We're back and ready for more Prisoner of Azkaban.
One thing that really struck me about this film is how different it feels from the first two.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
It's darker, more mature, almost like the series itself is growing up alongside its characters. I think that's a great observation.
Right.
And I think that's really a testament to Alfonso Cuarón.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't afraid to embrace the growing darkness in the story. And that's reflected in everything. You can see it in the set design, the cinematography.
It's true, like the use of shadows and just those muted colors.
Exactly.
It creates such a sense of mystery and foreboding.
Right.
It's a world away from Sorcerer's Stone and Chamber of Secrets. It's so whimsical and bright.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it really is. It's like a visual representation of Harry's own journey as he's grappling with heavier themes. Betrayal, loss, and, Voldemort's return is looming.
Right.
And the way that that's reflected in the visual style is brilliant.
It makes you want to rewatch it and pay attention to every single detail.
Exactly.
Speaking of details, what about the music?
Ooh, the music.
John Williams scored the first 3 films, and his music is just, it's so iconic.
It's so evocative, and it really captures the magic and wonder of Harry Potter. Think about Hedwig's theme.
Oh, it's true.
It's like, it is Harry Potter.
It is.
Whenever I hear that, I'm transported back to Hogwarts.
Yeah, and the way that the music swells during these moments of action or suspense.
Yes.
It just gives me chills every time.
Oh, me too.
It's like you can really feel the emotion of the characters through the music.
John Williams is a master at that.
He is. He's a master at using music to enhance the storytelling. Just another layer of magic that draws you in.
Exactly.
We've been talking a lot about the creative choices behind the scenes, but what about the actors themselves? I mean, they basically grew up on screen.
It's really remarkable to see how much they evolved over the course of this series, not just as actors, but as individuals.
Yeah.
And it must have been so unique to grow and change alongside your character.
It really must have been. Okay, I want to circle back to the Dementors for a minute.
Okay.
We talked about how terrifying they are, but I'm curious, was there any real-life inspiration behind them?
That's a great question. And actually, J.K. Rowling has said that she based the Dementors on her own experience with depression. She described the feeling of being around them as like a cold absence of happiness.
Wow.
Which is so powerful and heartbreaking.
It really is, and it adds like a whole new layer of meaning to their presence in the film. They're not just scary monsters.
Right.
They're like a representation of something very real and very painful. It makes you wonder how that visual representation might impact how people perceive depression.
It's a fascinating connection.
It is. It really is.
And it speaks to the power of film, how it can really shape our understanding of these really complex issues.
Yeah. All right, before we wrap up our deep dive into Prisoner of Azkaban, I want to go back to something we discussed earlier, how different this film feels from the first 2. And it makes me wonder, what if a different director had taken on this project? How might the film has been different? What do you think?
That's a great question. It's fun to imagine the possibilities. Imagine, like, Tim Burton.
Oh, wow.
Known for his gothic, whimsical style.
Yeah.
Imagine him directing Prisoner of Azkaban.
Oh, the Dementors would have been even more surreal and nightmarish.
Right.
A completely different vibe.
Totally. Or what if, like, someone like Steven Spielberg, who's known for those heartwarming, adventurous films, had directed it?
That's an interesting thought. Maybe it would have been a bit more optimistic.
Right.
Even in the face of all the darkness.
Yeah. Perhaps the focus would have shifted more towards, friendship and courage.
Exactly. It's amazing how a director's vision can so dramatically shape a film.
It really is.
And in this case, Cuarón's choices resulted in a truly unique and unforgettable experience.
Absolutely. He brought that darkness and maturity to the series that really connected with audiences.
It's true. And it makes you realize that every creative decision, big or small, contributes to the final product. So next time you watch Prisoner of Azkaban, pay close attention to those details.
Yes.
You might be surprised by what you discover.
It's like peeling back the layers of an onion, revealing new depths and complexities.
I love that analogy. Okay, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive, but before we go, I have one final thought to leave you with. So we've talked about how directorial choices and all these tiny details can change how we see a story. But what about the bigger picture? Do you think that, the visual portrayal of the Dementors, especially knowing that they're tied to depression, could actually influence how people perceive that condition in real life? Like, it really makes you think about the power of film, how it shapes our understanding of these complex issues.
That's such an interesting question. It definitely raises questions about the responsibility filmmakers have, especially when portraying sensitive topics.
Right.
Because in this case, Cuarón's depiction of the Dementors as these, terrifying, soul-sucking creatures. Could that lead to a more fearful or stigmatized view of depression?
Yeah, it's like on one hand, I think the film does a really great job of capturing that feeling of despair and hopelessness that can come with depression.
Right.
But on the other hand, could it also reinforce negative stereotypes or make people, less likely to seek help? It's a delicate balance.
It really is. It's something worth considering, not just with Prisoner of Azkaban, but with any film that tackles, complex social or psychological issues.
It reminds us that even in a fantasy world like Harry Potter, there are real-world implications to the stories that we tell and how we choose to tell them.
That's a great point, and that's why I think it's so important to engage with these stories, critically,
Yeah.
and to have open conversations about their impact.
Well said. I think we've covered a lot of ground today, from Cuarón's unique directing style to the portrayal of those terrifying Dementors, and even a few fun Easter eggs along the way. It's been a fascinating deep dive into Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban.
It's amazing what you can find when you really start digging into a film.
It's true. There's always something new to learn, a new perspective to consider. So next time you watch Prisoner of Azkaban, keep your eyes peeled, your mind open, and you might be surprised by what you find. And until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep the magic alive.